Okay, Randy, we are on the Soldier Stories podcast. Thank you for coming on. And
Yeah.
we want to talk about well, before we talk about you are the founder of There-Apy, There-Apy.
Right.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. But before we talk about uh, your treatment model, Randy, I want you to talk about what got you from where your upbringing to here, because you have a very interesting story, and it says a lot about the strength that you have, uh, coming from where you were to where you are now. So, like I said before, we just started. Just give us a little background about who you are and where you know what I'm saying, and what life
Yeah.
dealt with you.
So it's interesting when, when you say that, you have a lot of strength or character or whatever it was you said to go from where you were.
Hmm.
I think it more than that, to be really honest, Mark, it came down to a choice. Yeah. And one of the messages that I always want to share with people is that we're not stuck, right? You can make a choice and you don't have to be some superhuman individual in
Mm.
order to get from where you are and be able to, to achieve great things. So, sure,
Okay.
I grew up in poverty and parent alcoholism. My mom was an alcoholic. My dad was, who he was, abstinent and violent, and a lot of those things. And I ended up homeless at age 14 and living on the streets alone.
Mm.
So you you're thrust into that situation, and that starts to create a lot of the I talk about this, a lot of files in the subconscious mind, right? So
Yeah.
this file folder, I wear it out. So the files in my brain said not much is possible for you, kid, based on what happened before. And so, speaking to, do I have something special that allowed me to get past that? Truth is no, right? All it came down to in reflection and looking back in it, was I made a choice, right? I just made a choice. I knew where I was, and I chose to try and go in a different direction. That was it, right? I could have easily chose to believe, right? I'm the kid of alcoholic parents, and I'm homeless, and I don't have an education, and not much is possible for me. And then what happens? Then I put all that into a file, right? I'm not going to amount to anything. I don't have an education. I didn't have a supportive family. Here's all the reasons why I'm going to fail in life, more and more and more. And then this file becomes a monster, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then guess what? Then I start to believe it. And then I start to act as if. So, when you talk about, so what did I do that was so magical? I got lucky. I'll be honest, man. I just got lucky. I knew what was in this file, and I hated it.
You believe in luck, Randy?
Had no idea where I was going to go, but I didn't want to stay here. So I didn't have a master plan. I didn't have, I started out in manual labor jobs. I quit school at age 16. Grade 10 was as far as I went in high school. I left halfway through grade 11 with good marks, but I couldn't do anything because I was, I'm a homeless kid, right? So, um, but make no mistake. I think one of the most dangerous things that we can do in life is put people on pedestals, right? Don't be impressed by people. Be inspired by them,
Mm.
right? To say, like, I'm giving you God's honest truth. I got lucky and I made the right choice. That was it. I just made the right choice. I could have easily chosen to stay with this file, and the world would have went, yeah, of course, kid, right?
Mm.
You had no family, no leg up in life, and of course, we understand why you didn't amount to anything.
Mm. Okay.
Easily been true. So manual labor jobs, eventually went into, I got jobs in sales. I opened a couple of small businesses. You start to prove that that liar in your head is wrong. It's not true. And you start pushing forward, and eventually the jobs got better. Owned a couple of companies. Decided to take a shot and throw my hat into the ring for broadcasting at age 28,
Mm.
with a wife and son and bills and the rest of it. Start at $4.25 an hour. Um, and sold cars and cleaned swimming pools and worked in grocery stores and did anything and everything to put food on the table. In 20
Yeah.
years, made it to the number one radio station in Canada, CFRB 1010 in Toronto, spent a year at Global Television, and then 23 years ago left to go into this incredible world of helping people to believe in themselves more. I've been studying human behavior for 35 years. So that's the Coles Notes version.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that, Randy. Um, well, talk to us about your treatment model that you call therapy.
Yeah.
What's the premise of therapy?
So everything kind of happens from life experience, and you're going along through life and everything is going this way. So I started this organization, Tailor Made Leadership, 23 years ago. Knew a lot about human behavior, specialized in behavioral performance. And so companies and individuals would hire me to help them go from where they were to where they wanted to be, right? Because I understood how to impact behavior and how to help them.
Mm,
So that's what I did for most of the years, and it went very well. But it's, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago with some of the individuals that I was working with, executive coaching. We're having conversations and they're confiding in me privately that, listen, I'm really struggling with this. I have really bad anxiety. I sit in a boardroom and my leg shakes under the table and nobody knows it. And I wake up anxious in the middle of the night and I have so many fears that I live in stress all the time. Can you help me? All right. So I started working with some of these people, and almost all of them told me that they had previously been in therapy before. So the things that create those kind of symptoms, whether it's PTSD or fear, anxiety, stress, all of those things, they don't just show up out of nowhere. They're based on the recall of information from past things that happened in their lives, right? So it was a past trauma, it was a past tragic death of a family member. It was a failed marriage. It was a failed business. It was bullying in school, right? So we all have things in the past, and that information is stored in files, right? So right now, if I were to go inside Mark's brain, I can find a file that says, "Oh, here's how he makes coffee," right? Because you
mm,
learn that information and it goes in the file. Here's another one that says, "Here's how I run my podcast." I open it up and there's all the stuff in there about your podcast. Here's another one for how you drive a car. So all of this information for instruction and skill development and the rest of it is amazing how the brain works.
mm,
However, here's the file of that tragedy from the past. And so from a scientific perspective, every time you think again about your podcast, you're putting more paper in the file. And that's how you develop skill. That's how you get better at it, right? So the more times you think about or work on your podcast, that file on podcast gets bigger and bigger. Conversely, every time you think about or talk about that past tragedy, well, guess what? More paper goes into the file gets bigger, it becomes more dominant, and pretty soon it starts controlling your life. You're triggered by things that just don't seem to make sense. You see a blue truck, right? And that something about that blue truck reminds you of that event back then, and that happens, and that causes anxiety and fear and stress. So in working with these clients, I'm finding out that they went to therapy before clinical therapy. All right, so what went on, and what did they do? And it's like they would tell me repetitively, well, we kept talking about what was in the file, right? The tragedy, the death of a loved one, the failed marriage, whatever it was. They keep talking about it over and over again, and then, creating scenarios and ways that they can maybe manage how they react to this event that's gone. It's in the past,
mm.
but we keep bringing it up. So I'll
Yeah.
ask you, every time the therapist brings it up, is it making the file bigger?
If they
Yeah,
keep talking about it, yeah, yeah,
sure. And is it making it harder to overcome what's in here?
sure.
Yeah. So I start looking at this and I'm thinking, this makes no sense. This is completely counter to everything that I've studied for 35 years. So I can't make this file go away by talking about it. The only answer I realized is I need to create a new one, right?
Mm.
If I keep focusing on this file is only going to get bigger. The only way to get rid of this file or to have it diminish is never going to completely go away, by the way. But in order to circumvent this, I need to create a different file um, with the inverse information of what's in this one. This file says I'm terrified to fly in airplanes, right?
Right.
This file says I am the luckiest man in the world. I absolutely love to fly. It is the safest form of travel in the world. People give me food and drink at 35,000 feet in the air. And within a couple of hours, my feet are out of the snow and into the sand. I love to fly, right?
Right.
So, but if we keep saying, what's in here, it's like, don't see an elephant. How's that working? Not very well, right? You just saw an elephant. So if I
Yep.
keep saying, don't see an elephant, don't see an elephant, don't see an elephant, this file just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So the only answer is no, let's see cheetahs. We'll put cheetahs in this file. What's in the file? It's cheetahs, it's cheetahs, it's cheetahs. And over time, not in a day, but in a relatively, you know, short period of time, 2 to 3 months, the cheetah file will become the dominant file.
Sure.
And you have a thought about something and you'll open this file and you won't see elephants anymore. And that's the process. And it's working incredibly well.
So it kind of reminds me of the Indian tale of the two wolves, and one being bad and one being good, and the the kid asked his grandfather, I mean, which one would win in a battle, and the grandfather said, the one you feed.
One you feed. Bingo. That's
So
exactly it.
the premise of your model is basically you feed in the positive. You feed in the present. Don't feed into the past. Don't feed into the
Right.
negative. Correct?
And yes, and honestly, Mark, we're feeding the truth, right?
Mm,
The
mm.
the lie is I don't have any confidence. The lie is I struggle with anxiety all the time. The lie is I could
I
never be
struggle.
loved, right? I could
Yeah,
never have great health. I couldn't have the perfect body. Those are all lies. You agree, right? Those are lies,
agree.
right? So this isn't about tricking the brain. This is about reprogramming the brain through a process of inverse subconscious programming, right? So right now, the brain is telling me this. Well, I have to tell it this, right? I have to input the correct information to eventually have me believe the truth, which is I am confident. I am calm in all situations. I am so deserving of great love and a wonderful relationship. I am the person who's going to have perfect health and a great body. I am the person who attracts wealth and tremendous opportunities into my life every day. But you have to believe that. And so, just the way the wrong information got into the file, the science of the brain is wildly complicated. 100 billion brain cells or neurons, more synaptic connections within the brain than there are grains of sand on Earth. Yet the process is very simple. If you put the wrong information into the file too many times, this begins to control you.
Mm,
So the
mm.
way to circumvent that is to create a new file with the truth in it.
So how, as a veteran, and the podcast is primarily for veterans, how do you convince veterans that have been through trauma after trauma after trauma, and convince them like, hey, your trauma is not the problem. It's the way that you think about the
Yeah.
issue. I mean, how do you help
It's like
that?
you were in the services, right?
Correct.
So were you in dangerous situations?
No.
You know guys who were in horrible situations,
Yes.
shot at, friends blowing up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So um, do you know someone you can tell me a story about and just give me a letter of their first name?
His last name is Fox. He told me a story. He was in he was in a convoy. He was in a convoy, and he mentioned that uh, the convoy, I guess it hit some explosives that were laid out,
Yeah.
and I think he got. Uh, I think they also got assaulted, but the problem was when the bomb went off, it was in the van or the vehicle in front of him. So he saw this vehicle go kaboom. And they were able to make it out of that scenario, but people died in his face, basically. You know what I mean? And he carried that. Like you said, he had the file
Yeah.
and he carried that file. And to your point, this became powerful for him. This became the thing for him. You know what I mean? This had power because he stayed in the past. He stayed in that moment.
How long ago was that?
This was years ago. Uh, this was uh, early 2000s when I spoke with this guy.
So there's and I wanted to share this because this is very powerful. There's an exercise that I do with clients that I work with, and I'll, um, I'll do it with you. Okay. We'll just spend
Sure.
like 60 seconds doing it just to, as an example. All right, Mark. So I want you to recall something from the past. I want you to recall a difficult event from the past. You don't have to tell me what it is. All right. Do you
Okay.
know, what the event is?
Yes.
All right. So I want you to just sit and relax and close your eyes and listen to me. Okay. Close your eyes.
All right.
All right. So this event, you're going back there in your mind right now. And I want you to completely go back to that event, to that moment, and to that day. I want you to look around where you are right now. And I want you to see everything that's going on. What was the weather like? Was it indoors? Was it outdoors? Were there other people around you? When it happened in that moment, what was your reaction? What was the reaction of the people around you?
Uh,
You don't have to tell me, just see it.
okay.
Okay? Just
All right.
just stay there and see it. Look around and take everything in. You can see the colors, you can see the texture. Was it daytime? Was it nighttime? The event that happened was shocking. And in that moment, you just didn't know what to do. And most importantly, the emotions that you're feeling right now that you felt then in that moment are just overwhelming and you don't know how to handle them and you don't know what to do with it. You didn't expect this and you've been thrust into this. And the emotions you're feeling are crushing. Okay, open your eyes. Where'd it go?
Where did it go?
Where did it go? You were just there,
It went away, I guess, because I'm looking at you right now.
but it's gone. But when you were going through that activity, that exercise, you were there.
Correct.
You saw what was going on. You heard what was going on. You felt what was going on. You could see the time, the day. It was night. It was day. It was inside. It was outside. Were there people? What was the event? How are you feeling? And in that moment, you were back there.
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of this is to realize whatever it was and however tragic it was, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So your buddy in the convoy, in the van that blew up in front of him, he has relived that over and over and over again, and this file has become a monster. And it's every time, he see one of the things about memories is that it's not only the information that we remember, watching the van explode, pulling their truck over, jumping out, running over, tending to the injured and the dead, right? So we can have the memory of that motion picture. But when we have a memory, the memory creates chemical compounds or neuropeptides that make us feel that way, right? So when you're scared, your heart races, maybe your hands shake a little bit, your legs feel like rubber,
Mm,
stomach feels like it's up in your throat, right? So there's a physical component to the chemicals created from that emotion. So when your friend is remembering the van blowing up, he's not only remembering the information, it is triggering his body to create exactly the same chemical compounds that made him feel that way in the field. And that's why PTSD is created and it becomes so dominant and so real. Is because when you create these chemicals over and over and over again, your body gets trained to do it like that, right? I had a client, not in services, but a woman I was working with a couple of weeks ago was in a horrible relationship with a guy. And every time she sees a guy with curly blonde hair, her hands start to shake and she has a panic attack
mm,
because her ex had blonde curly hair. He's not there, right?
mhm,
But any trigger, so your friend with, he sees a van, he sees something, he hears a noise, bang, and it triggers it. And the body pumps out all these chemical compounds that makes him feel exactly the way he felt the day it happened.
mm,
So he has to create a new file. You can't think that old file away, right? And that's the process. I have one guy, Matt, who 20 years in PTSD, was abused horribly by his mother when he was little, stuck a pen in his leg, taken away by child services,
mm,
put in foster homes. They beat him and abused him, went into the services, and then watched all his friends in Afghanistan get blown up in front of him. And
mm,
he was
mm,
in therapy for 20 years.
mm.
That was 5 months ago. He couldn't get off his couch. He wouldn't brush his teeth. He just had given up on life. And that was 5 months ago. And 2 weeks ago, he sent me a video of his new place in Panama. He just, he's got his life back together.
Mhm.
He's been able to move past all of that. He's creating new files, so much so that he's got his life together and he's moving on. He sent me, I could have cried. I mean, he sent me this video of his view out of his apartment on the beach in Panama. It's just crazy, right?
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And the exercise that we just did, it it really does put you in the mindset that while you're thinking about it, you can I can feel myself getting tense.
Yeah.
But when I open my eyes and realize that it was in the past and that it happened, and that I'm here in the present talking with you, it gives me more insight to realize that I can't let what happened in the past dictate my current state of being and nor my future
But
because it
but
happened.
but everybody so much, I mean, gosh, everybody does. And then, the therapy model does the same thing, right? And we keep talking about the van blowing up. We keep talking about whatever the trauma or the tragedy was, um, instead of moving on. And gosh, you know what, Mark, the saddest thing is think of collectively on Earth how much people give up their future because of the recall of the past. It's gone. It's
Mhm,
a ghost.
mhm,
As horrible as that was, Another client of mine, um, 3 years old, was in Iran and was in a horrible bus accident in the middle of the night. It was pouring rain, and the bus driver fell asleep, and it went down a ravine. And her mom and her sister and her, out of 68 people, were the only survivors in that bus. She was 3 years old. And so she has had that vision and that memory haunting her. Imagine how horrible that was for a little girl. But how horrible is it when we keep reliving it, right? And then what does it take away from our future? Right? I
Mm,
can't do this because I have anxiety. I can't do that because I don't have confidence. I can't do this because of, all these reasons. And the human potential that is stripped away, it's it's I mean, the van blowing up was a horrible tragedy, but your friend losing the rest of his life by remembering it is awful. And it's
mm,
and it's not necessary. Nobody's stuck. We can move past it.
mm, mm. So speaking of stuck, uh, you said that clinical therapy doesn't work for most people in your bio. Um,
Yeah.
why do you feel that way? The file.
I mean, every client of mine, probably 80% of them went through clinical therapy. This isn't from me. I've never been in therapy, right? I took care of myself, right? So, but 80% of the clients that went through therapy said it didn't help them. I mean, Matt, the guy in the services for 20 years, was in therapy for 20 years. And he said, listen, if there are people that are listening and they're in therapy and it's helping them and they're getting on with their lives and they're moving past the past, don't listen to me. If it's working for you, God love you, keep going, right? But the vast majority of people told me it didn't help them. And a lot of people said, it kind of made them worse because it made them keep thinking about that thing from their past that is the problem over and over again. So um, you got to create a new file.
Got to create a new file.
Yeah.
That's the message. Uh, don't feed the file that isn't working. Make a new file.
You got to feed the wolf of your future, not the
That,
wolf of your past. That was a great analogy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mental health. You mentioned that it's not an illness. If that's the case, Randy, what do you think it is? Okay. So
Right.
everything goes back to the file.
It does. So I mean, but here's a tragedy in this though, Mark. I mean, imagine this. So um, somebody comes along and they go to the doctor and says, "Oh, I'm really struggling. I feel anxious all the time. I don't like going out socially. I feel so uncomfortable at work, and it's affecting the way I eat and everything. I'm not going to the gym. It's terrible." And the doctor goes, "Oh, you have multiple anxiety disorder. Like it's a thing." So now the doctor just said, "You have something wrong with you." Right? And people go, "Well, it's good to be diagnosed." No, it's not. Not if it's not true. So what is that? Anxiety, multiple anxiety disorder, stress disorders, PTSD. If you said that to me, then I feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. And now I have to struggle with that because I don't
Mm,
think it's just a condition. I think it's my condition. My brain is broken. That's not true. I mean, if it was an illness, there would be an injury, a pathogen, a virus, something. It's not. It's this. It's the recall of information. That's not an illness. It's a repetitive psychological process, but it's not an illness. And when you label people, it makes it so much harder to get over. People are like, "Wow, I have a condition," and then and then they can say, "Well, no wonder I'm not getting better, and I'm stuck because I have a condition. I have multiple anxiety disorder." No, no, you're controlled by the recall of information from a past experience that has become so dominant, it's causing these symptoms. But there's nothing wrong with your brain. There's nothing wrong with you. You were born perfect.
Mm,
You
mm,
still are,
mhm.
right? So, yeah.
Sir, you're also the founder of TaylorMade Leadership. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I went from a career in broadcasting, left, turned off the microphone and the cameras 23 years ago to I always wanted to do this, right? I had studied so much and I wanted to, go in and help people. And, I remember when I wrote my first book and self-published it before I left broadcasting called Life Before Can't. Um, and I didn't have a client. And I
Mm,
thought, kid with a grade 10 education. And I would look at all the other websites of, famous speakers and authors and people in this field and thought, how am I ever going to, get clients? Because that's who I am. But I was so passionate about it. And now I look at my own website and I think, how'd that happen? Right. It's like this big long list of Fortune 500 companies. And so, yeah, that was kind of the niche that I started working with people on behavioral performance, right?
mm,
I understood the mind, which is very much the same as this work, is being able to say, how do you manage the mind? How do you control it? How do you create the structure and disciplines and behaviors of the top performers, both in business and personal. And so I started this organization, started out as a speaker, wrote the book, started speaking. I had name recognition because I was the radio guy and the TV guy. And then fairly soon into it, started to develop training and development programs that, typically you go and watch a keynote speech at a conference and you get all excited and you're all motivated and you walk out the door and it goes away, right?
he goes
Uh,
into the final, right?
yeah, well, because that's not how the brain works. I mean, you don't hear something once and it changes your life. You have to do it over and over again to create a new behavior. So that's what led to creating these development programs, Epic, Elite Performance, Individual Coaching, Elevate for people in financial services and insurance, and the
Mm,
work within, which is behavioral performance for anyone. So yeah, so that was the company, and started doing that. And when people have great results, you get brought back and you get hired again, and that's what grew the company. And then I still have that and still do that, but I'm really passionate about this new approach to therapy, helping people to get unstuck because it's like there's this veil of fog in front of people, and you just right, if you can blow it away, their life is on the other side, right? So
mhm.
it's pretty rewarding. It is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Uh, Last question. What is the main takeaway that you want to share about your treatment model? One thing
There's
that
not,
you can, like you can give to people that would say, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Let me try it.
there is nothing wrong with you. The biggest takeaway is hear me clearly, right? And this is not my navel gazing. This is, experience with hundreds of people. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You are remembering things from the past that have created behaviors that are holding you back. And, from a scientific perspective, a process called neuroplasticity says that you can alter any of the information in the subconscious mind in the brain. So if you alter the information and you create a new file, my greatest goal in all of this with everyone is allowing them to get back to being themselves. That's it, right?
Mm,
That's the magic. Just stop allowing those ghosts of the past to steal your future.
mm,
It's not necessary. You can change that.
mm, 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 mm. Yeah, I'm just letting it all sink in because what you're saying, it really does resonate with me, Randy, and that a lot of us we do tend to get so caught up in what happened
Yeah.
that we lose sight of our present, you know, and our present scenario can be messed up because of something that happened years ago. Now, mind you, it happened years ago. Leave it where it was.
Even if it happened yesterday. Mark, what'd you have for lunch yesterday?
Man, I don't remember.
Let's
And
make it up. Let's say you had pizza. Let's say you had pizza. Okay.
I
All
had
right.
breakfast for lunch.
Okay. But can you eat yesterday's lunch again?
Oh,
It's gone, man. It's
oh,
gone, right? So understand that our life is there, not back there. When we
indeed.
do that, everything changes. Listen, it's a process. It takes work. It's not, you don't hear a few magic words and everything changes, but what's the alternative, right? Staying stuck and giving up all those great things in life you're
Hmm.
entitled to and you should have. And every person, my wife has said it so many times that she thinks my superpower is my belief in people. I can stand, and I have many times, in audience of 3,000 people and see absolute identical potential in every person in the audience. I can. The world picks the winners and losers. Not true.
Hmm.
Everyone has identical potential if you apply yourself. That's it. Yeah.
Keyword, apply yourself.
Yeah.
Indeed. How can people contact you, Randy?
Either through either of the websites, through tailormadeleadership.com, or the therapy website is freefromtherapy.com. And
Therapy.com.
there's contact information on both websites. And listen, if anyone has any questions, you don't have to hire me. I mean, if you have questions and I can help you in any way, um, I love this. I will never forget. I was the homeless kid standing on the street watching the hot dog vendor selling hot dogs for 25 cents when I was a kid and couldn't afford it. So
Mm,
uh,
mm, mm.
I remember those days, and I'm so blessed to do what I do now.
Yes, you are, sir. And I'm blessed to have you on my show. So thank you very much, Mr. Randy Taylor, for coming on Soldier Stories podcast and share your knowledge with us. I really do appreciate that.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me on. This is
Thank
great.
you, sir. You have a good day. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for paying attention and listening in to the Soldier Stories podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode next week. I'm Mark Ross, and I'm out. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. We'll
Sure.
chat soon. Look forward to seeing it.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.